What is going on YouTube? It is your boy Gartrell back with No Lift Garage. First off, I just want to say I am sorry for being gone for almost 4 weeks. I was traveling to Italy and ultimately going to the Monza F1 race, which is the topic and theme of this entire video. I've also been traveling for work, so again, sorry that I haven't been able to post a video, but we will be back on course with the Carrera 911 street car build as soon as possible. Just to give you a heads up on some things coming up, we got brakes coming for the car, and we got some stuff for the front end of the car that's gonna just make it transformed and a little bit more efficient. So you're not gonna wanna miss that. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and like this video. Let's get into it. Today we're gonna be talking about Formula One. So I've been to the Spa Belgium Grand Prix, and most recently, traveling to Italy, I've been to the Monza F1 Grand Prix. Two of the most iconic races in the history of Formula One. And what I want to do today is give some of you newcomers who might be getting into Formula One or want to attend a Formula One race some hints and tips on what to expect and what a Grand Prix is like in person. So the first thing I want to cover are the conditions. You have to check the conditions. Basically, what I mean by checking the conditions is you're going to want to know the weather, you're going to want to know the terrain of the track. This is going to basically affect your entire race weekend, especially if you're a Grand Prix ticket holder that's a grandstand or general admission. The difference between those two is that the grandstand typically has a nice view as well as a screen, whereas general admission is literally wherever there is available space to stand. So you got to pick your personal preference and price point. But ultimately, you will be exposed to the elements in most grandstand and general admission conditions. So if it's going to be hot, if it's going to be rainy, if it's going to be windy, you're going to want to make sure that you're prepared for those conditions, because that will affect your experience of the race altogether. Bringing sunscreen in hot races, bringing an umbrella just in case the weather conditions change, as we know they do in Formula One very often, and maybe bringing a potential jacket or sweater if it's potentially going to be raining or windy. You don't want to be chilly in the grandstand or cold if it's raining. Next, you're going to want to make sure that you always have on comfortable walking shoes. This is imperative because the Grand Prix spread over several miles. As you know, a Grand Prix track can be anywhere from 3 or 4 to 5 miles long. Spa Belgium Grand Prix being one of the most hilly / mountainous terrains, as well as the longest track on the F1 calendar. So if you plan to see different vantage points of the track, which I highly encourage, you're going to want to have on good walking or running shoes that are comfortable to stand in for long periods of time. The next thing and helpful hint that I want to give you guys is to do your research on the venue. So first things you want to know are, how do I get to the track? So there were some variances on, opinion, but you can drive to the track. There's usually parking, of which you'd have to buy a parking pass. Lots of venues also offer public transportation options, which are buses or trains. So for the Spa Belgium Grand Prix, I actually ended up renting a car and driving to the venue, which was actually pretty nice. I got to see the countryside, and it actually didn't delay my getting into the Grand Prix that much at all. I basically drove into the venue, parked. It takes maybe 15 to 20 minutes to park, and then you have to walk to the venue. If you end up taking the bus, like I did in Monza, you could be subject to long lines, being smashed inside of a bus as they try to pack as many people as possible into it, which was very uncomfortable. So I think it's your personal preference. You could also Uber to the venue or take a rideshare type of deal. But again, you're going to want to do your research on what's best for the specific track you're going to and what the logistics are around the track are. Next up, you're also going to want to know what you can and cannot bring into the venue. A lot of these places will not allow outside open water bottles. Sealed water bottles are perfectly fine. I would actually recommend freezing yours if you didn't, because this way it stays colder throughout the day. Obviously, you're not going to have access to a refrigerator, and sometimes the water, as they restock it, is not cold because it's not inside refrigerators the entire time. So that might be a good helpful hint to have some big ice hydro flask or something like that to make sure you have cold water throughout the entire day, especially if you're in a hot climate like I was from Monza, which was 91 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, you want to get a lay of the land. So finding a track map somewhere inside of the venue or online that tells you, where you are, where the points of interest are, like the fan zone, which has tons of cool things like, for example, sim racing, some historic F1 cars, some memorabilia, and typically the shopping area, as well as a stage where you can see the drivers come on and talk about some questions from interviewers throughout the race weekend. You're also going to want to know where you want to go on the track. So specifically, I stayed in my area of the Grand Prix the whole weekend simply because I didn't want to walk super far. It was really hot and there was actually no cloud cover, so I didn't really get to go to too many different parts of Monza like Ascari and Turn 1. But I had a great experience watching from the exit of Parabolica. But if you're someone who is interested in seeing the entire track, you definitely want to get a lay of the land and know how to get to the areas you want to get to. If you're a ticket holder, you're automatically a general admissions ticket holder, meaning even if you are in a grandstand, you can go to any general admission area that is available. So you can see different vantage points on the track. When I went to Spa, Belgium Grand Prix, I actually ended up sitting in a Roche my first 2 days, but I ended up walking almost the entire track, seeing spots at La Source, seeing spots at the Kimmel Straight, seeing spots at Speed Corner, and that's all through hiking and walking through the woods. So it was kind of an interesting experience, but nonetheless, a great one. Next up is just activities and what to expect. Definitely know what activities are going on and know what activities are happening at what specific time. Basically, this can affect your Grand Prix very much. If you know that there's a specific series coming on, F3, F2, F1, or Porsche Cup, you're going to want to know what time they're going to be on track or what time an activity is happening, specifically like Lewis Hamilton doing his driver interview on stage. This will affect where you are at any given point in the Grand Prix weekend. So definitely know your timetables and when activities are happening at the track. That is probably one of the most important things, because if you are 2 miles away from your seat and need to get back, it's going to be a decent long walk in, and that could be, the entire session for some of these classes. Like Porsche Cup typically has maybe like 30 to 45 minutes of practice time. So if it takes you 30 minutes to walk back to your seat, you just missed Porsche Cup if you wanted to see it. So know what time your activities are going to be happening. Lastly, just what to expect. Expect a high energy, packed out weekend. There's going to be a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of logistics moving around. Expect it to be somewhat hectic. But controlled chaos at the same time. Expect to have some potentially long lines for food, beverages. We actually had this new system where in Spa there was a card that you would load up and then you would just walk to the front and tap that card, which was a very effective model. In Monza, they had a system of tickets. So you would purchase tickets, then get online to actually receive your item. I think that was pretty inefficient. I think that if everyone just had, a card, you tap it and they hand you the item, it would make it a little bit quicker. But there was technically 2 lines for everything. You had to stand in line to get a ticket, then stand in line to receive your item for turning that ticket in. And then there were separate lines where you can buy those tickets and skip the initial ordering line to get online for your item. So I recommend actually, if depending on what situation is which, if you have a ticket system at your Grand Prix, buy a bunch of tickets in advance the first time. So if you know that you're going to be here all 3 days, buy like 10 water bottle tickets, then buy like 7 beer tickets, and this way you can literally just have them in your pocket and walk straight up to the front of the line to get your item as soon as possible. I did this and I found that it was very effective. Instead of waiting in any line to buy the ticket, I already had the ticket. I just had to go turn it in or wait in one line just to receive my item. It's a little crazy of a system. I didn't really love it, but those tickets are transferable between days. It's not like if you don't use it in one day, they're going to cancel it. You can just basically take that ticket into the next day of the Grand Prix, walk up to the stand, turn in your ticket, and get drinks. Drinks were probably the longest lines. Food was a bit shorter. So take that with a grain of salt, and I hope that helps you with your Grand Prix weekend. I hope you've enjoyed these like tips and tricks to get, around or navigate a F1 Grand Prix weekend. I had a great experience. I think it's definitely worth doing at least once in your lifetime if you're into racing, if you're into Formula One. But that's all I have for you today. If you like this video, drop a like, drop a comment if you want to say something. And subscribe, please. It's gonna start taking off with this Porsche build before the end of fall. So thank you guys. See you.